actually plugged in. Okay. Welcome. Welcome to Let Me Out Productions and the Top Brass Dow. I said, Let Me Out Productions and the Top Brass Dow. We are going to discuss co-publishing in the economy today, as I'm wearing a unit of CoPub on my chest. Let's talk about what CoPub is. Co-publish the stage. Co-publish the shelf. Co-publish each other. Co-publish yourself. Shove the duck up and sing on a bear. Okay. Don't worry, it's all, as some might put it, God, as others might put it, the ancestors that form light soup. I'm just bringing this into the public eye and into understanding. So, welcome. Okay. I think. Let's see if the Twitch is working. I've got a dummy check on Twitch real quick to see if I'm broadcasting onto Twitch. Are we live on Twitch, everybody? Let's see. No. Yeah! Look at that! Okay! Okay, we're in business. I love it. You go over here. What's even over here? What's going on? Okay. Well, over on Twitch. And at okay. Let's dive straight into it. Well, first let's go to the story beat. That'll do. That'll do, Bison Spud Pig. So this is Bison Spud Pig. He's the mascot of the 1939 Boston Potato. Well, he's the mascot of the Boston Potatoes throughout their entire lore. This is just what he looks like in 1939. He's a chimera between a pig, a buffalo, and a baked potato. Sort of rolled up into one character named Bison Spud Pig. So we published this story out of the 1939 lore chapter of the Boston Potatoes. Yeah, I think one of the things we might do summarize the press passages. I'm in my notebook LLM. So this is a very comprehensive and wide idea, so all of you are going to have to forgive me on using the tools that are at my availability to shrink the idea and teach it. No more sanctimonious knee-jerk reactions to things. Apply nuance and critical thinking, please. If you're an influencer, that's your job, is to teach nuance and critical thinking. Take after Vosh. He does a great job. Not many others do. Here's a summary of the Press Pass Season 1 lore game, structured as talking points for your stream. I already had an itinerary, but this kind of works. Okay. So the core concept of co-publishing is co-ownership. Publishing and ownership go hand in hand. Publishing means that you're bringing something into existence that didn't exist before. So when you do that, you traditionally own the thing that you're publishing. Here, I will show you a great example of what I'm talking about. Let's get back to here, and we'll go. Push you in here. Okay, this is a picture that I took of LeBron James. It's one of my it is my most famous shot. And it's the one I show off the most because this is the one that gets me into buildings and gets me into opportunities. But it's the statue of LeBron. It's listed for $23.3 million. Okay? When you go to the terms of the shot, it's all right here. It's all right there. So what you're looking at is a publishing title. It titles what's published within it as property, and it titles what it can further express as property. So when you own this title, you own the shot, and you own the right to further express that shot within terms. So I published this. It is my property. It wouldn't exist without me. Obviously, it's a collaborative effort. There's a reason why this is $23.3 million in value. So if you look down in the terms of the title, you'll actually see here that I'm actually staked at 35% from any measurable revenue or transferable value from this publishing title. So I've already planned on including the collaborative parties in this receipt to the tune of 65%. I'm at my 35% basketball-related income, LeBron James, Lakers, Players Union. Should this move, let's say, should Nike or Clutch or somebody like that decide to buy this shot and put it on a billboard for LeBron's retirement campaign, that would be the split of the receipt. It's already in the publishing title. The property is defined, but I define the property, which is important. It's what we're talking about. So in the same way that I brought this into existence that didn't exist before, every bit of data that you produce is that. It might not be a LeBron James, okay? Maybe it's, what do I have that's not a LeBron James, right? Like, so many, a lot of shots. I have an Al Jefferson. Let me bring up, no shade to Al. Okay, this is for the Hoopers out here. Here we go. Let's bring up this Al Jefferson in Bobcats uniform. Okay, so you saw the LeBron's $20-something million is $1,200, $1,300 for a one-of-one of Al Jefferson in a Bobcats uniform. Here you go, Twitch. How are you, YouTubes? Mario and Yuyita, how are y'all? Good to see y'all. I'm going to post that on the Twitch chat so somebody can buy this and really, really, really help out my life. If you value what I'm teaching, if you value the information and you value the paradigm shift, and I've helped you understand that blockchain NFTs are going to be used for data claim as property, for labor claim as property, for effort claim as property, to publish what we're creating into the economy in anchor terms, please purchase the help out. Like, maybe this isn't within your disposable income, but what is? This publishing title is for the show. You make up a character, you roleplay a lore, and then you shoot a scene that we will offer exactly as this, as a digital trading card. So we're publishing that together, and this is $22. So I'm eating off of what we sell, and at a certain scale, I can stop doing that. I can hire a team, or rehire the team. So let's go back to what we're talking about. So we're going to be mostly talking about two concepts today, or three concepts. There's co-publishing overall, the idea of notarized co-publishing. Publishing results, bringing results into existence that weren't there before, using a system of impartial witness, so notarized co-publishing. What we're doing with Notarized Co-Publishing, we're co-publishing our brand of Let Me Out Productions. We're co-publishing a bear market musical called Musical Bears. We're co-publishing a television franchise, season by season, starting with season 1 of Press Pass, which is partially a tabletop roleplay game and in part a 24-episode Tier 1, 25 to 35 minute episode series. So 24 episodes, 35 minutes. Knowing the director slate that I have, they're going to all want to use their full minute count. Nah. A couple of them are going to be on the shorter end. I know I'm like, for the industry heads out there, if I direct any episodes at all in season 1, it'll be episode 20. I'm here to work. I'm here to run the show and make the best possible outcome. And I don't even need to say it because I've tweeted it. I've said it enough times. I've put my wish list out there. My granduncle's agency knows the wish list. Everybody knows. Everybody who needs to know knows. So that's kind of where we're at there. I'm not going to promote on anybody's name or do anything like that. I think I pissed off one of my friends by bringing him up on Twitter because he hadn't come up anywhere else. And man said he was propping up my 10 years of work. So that's an issue. That's an issue. That's some bad advice. All right. Let's go to the lore game. Let me use the smaller window so we can read along. Anyway, this is a publishing title to what happened in season 1. Okay, so that's the goal. Here, let me post this in chat too. And when I'm posting in chat over on Twitch, where I'm most likely going to find customers. On YouTube, I love y'all. I don't even know how to get to chat on YouTube, to be honest. What? Because I can't type into the chat. I can see it, I can't type it. Whatever. So yeah, co-publish what happened, and we're going to get into some what happened today. But first, what is progress? This is how my brain works. I don't need to get distracted by that right now. I just want rules and explanations, baby. Why are you all smushed? Don't be smushed. I'm streaming. Don't be smushed. Weird. Okay. I love our fandom because it tells me which articles are trending, and on the back end I can see which articles exactly get how many clicks in a month. So I know our story beat is doing extremely well. I know that's shooting around the back end of things. I see a 6-7 in chat. Y'all, I'm 36 years old. And I know my nieces and nephews don't watch me stream. If my nieces, nephews, and baby cousins watch me stream and they're doing the 6-7 thing, that's funny. But if you're not a kid in my life, my baby cousin Carter. I'm just gonna call, like, if you're a baby cousin, I'm gonna do the thing that our family does. You're a grand nephew or a grand niece or something like that. Like, I got my nephews and my nieces, but I don't want to call you different. Like, you're not like a different attractive kid. I still got your back. So you're a grand. You're just. If we're gonna acknowledge the 1 step removed or the 2 steps removed, that's just gonna be a grand. You know what I mean? That's. So grand niece, grand nephew. Same thing with mother and father, grand. You know what I mean? Like, it's. I love it. I love language. I love the way it applies. Let me not get distracted. I'm looking up the Press Pass Lore Game article. Shout out to Paul. There it is. I have to type in the. All right. Let's read. You know what? You guys are going to put up with something today because we're going to read the article. That's what we're going to do. Okay. So first, let's go back here. I'm going to finish the itinerary. We're going to talk about the lore game, what it is, and in Season 1, how we're using the lore game to approach the specific lore of the Basketball Syndicate of America, aka the BSFA. There's a TV show tie-in. This is the lore for the actual television show, and the structure of the scalable impact puzzle. So, the lore game is a massive collaborative role-playing experience set in a sport-punk alternate reality revolving around the fictional Basketball Syndicate of America. That's the Season 1 lore game. The Season 2 lore game will be about the National Association of Modern Football. The Season 3 lore game will be about the Global Hockey Program. The Season 4 lore game, I believe, will be about United Club Football, which is our soccer. Season 5 lore game is about Wrestle Fighters Unanimous, which is sort of our UFC in our world. Season 6 lore game, I think, is Estonian Handball. And then Season 7 is International Baseball Association. So if you're a baseball fan out there, baseball is... I clearly like handball better than baseball. So that's why the Estonian Handball League is going to be a lore game that we get to before International Baseball Association. But I did finish the baseball teams because technically they all exist during the time, or some of them, not all of them. Let me take that back. A good portion of the baseball teams exist in 1939 when we're doing the BSFA lore. So currently, right now, I am setting the championships up for the NAMFU, the 12 years before 12-13 seasons before 1939, knocking all those championships out, and then the 40 years of championships in the INTBA will all be decided this summer. So if you're going to publish that, these are sideline elements. We call them pregnant monkeys, these fixed details. If you're going to publish some of the pregnant monkeys in terms of like who won the championships, all of these things, get involved. Publish through your character, but then you also can impact the wider world shaping as well. That's what we did that into the BSFA championship winners. I had no idea who they were. We role played that in 2022. All the early adopters, well, not all of them, but a good portion of early adopters of Press Pass hopped on calls throughout summer of 2022, and we chose all of the BSFA winners, all 74 chapters. So that was really fun. TV show tie-in. We are all George R.R. Martin here. Okay, so we're going back in time. All of these teams are different houses, and we're exploring the history of all the different houses as they generationally build. And while I wrote the structure and I wrote the world and I've shaped the world, we are writing the actual meat potatoes. It's dumb because the Boston Potatoes, like the branding, is just filled with puns. And you'd think they'd get old, but sometimes they catch you by surprise, and it's funny. So we're very much publishing the lore of the Game of Thrones show, but, 2 or 3 generations before it. So we're going to co-publish that and then use that lore and archive material that we're also co-publishing as the flashback reference material for our sports mockumentary. Now, the scalable impact puzzle, again, is the structure, so let's get into... Before I read it... Wait, can I do that? Does that work on here? No. No. Yeah, let me read this. So, I'll just read what I wrote in the Press Pass lore game, and then this will actually help me think about what I need to edit. So the Press Pass lore game. Please join me on a paradigm shift. The intellectual property is established as a scalable impact puzzle on the Elmo structure for tokenomics. This is a publishing structure that can be applied to any intellectual property: brand, product, service, experience, distributed assets, software, hardware, set of logistics, advocacy, nonprofit. Doesn't matter. It can be if it's an intellect, again, like what we talked about at the beginning of the call. If you're bringing it into existence and it didn't exist before you brought it into existence, that is now property that you can title and claim and build on a public notary with impartial witness for all to see. So the paradigm here is that traditionally in intellectual property, we are dealing with it's just simple for everybody to understand as the Shark Tank model. So what that means is I'm going into Shark Tank and I say, hey, I have my idea. I've got my one unit of intellectual property here. Here's the unit. There it is. I brought this into existence, and I need funding. I need resources to maximize this idea and push it to the market in the best possible way. And the shark's job, because they have a fiduciary obligation, is to take a big old shark bite out of this unit and then drive the entire unit to produce as much money for their shark bite as possible. No matter what your intentions are, that is their goal, is the shark. That is their responsibility in the transaction, period. And that's true no matter if it's on Shark Tank or off Shark Tank. That's just what it is. So even with co-publishing, if A16Z and Y Combinator, my friends out there, their job is to take as big of a bite of Let Me Out Productions or as big of a bite of Press Pass of whatever we're doing as possible, and then have all of our behavior, all of the publishing behavior in the entire container, drive the fiduciary potential of their bite, even to the expense of our own fiduciary potential. And that's a problem. The economy cannot run that way, because you think about what their job is. They're supposed to. You think about this as my intellectual property, one unit that I created, Press Pass, Let Me Out Productions, Musical Bears, right? Okay, so I'm at a disadvantage when I go to market with my one unit, and I'm negotiating a percentage with the shark. And that's traditionally the only market for intellectual property. When you need help with resources to publish your highest potential with the property, we're forced into a risk exchange market, which means that I have to contract the shark's risk and enter my property into a fiduciary obligation to perform for that shark's risk. I don't want to do that. I'm in a creative. We're a publishing studio. It's a highly volatile field. It might be the number 2 revenue generating export in the United States, but it is volatile, and every single thing that you produce, you have no idea how an audience is going to respond to it, no matter how you market it. So, this is just not a good model. It's not a good model for the sharks. It's not a good model for the merchant. It's also, you think about the way that works. Only in real estate, intellectual property, and cars, really, does the merchant, which would be the shark, the customer, which would be the shark in this case, get to negotiate how much of a bite and how much they're going to pay for that bite out of the merchant aware. It's one of the only realms where your idea as the merchant can be completely thrown out and replaced by the customer idea because you're forced into that exploitative conversation. So, when you take this unit and you say in your deed that brings this into perceivable existence, you say, oh, you know what, actually this property does not exist as one unit. That's not how it exists. Period. It inherently exists as an impact puzzle with 100,000 equal yet unique pieces that build this united unit. And I'm going to make 10 to 16% available. So I can make 10 to 16%. Let's say it's 100,000 units, 10,000 to 16,000 units available. In a 10,000 unit availability, you have a 1 to 9 proof of labor ratio. In a 16% availability, you have 1 to 5.25 proof of labor ratio. What that means is for every one publishing title purchased and developed by a customer who is adopting some of the financial risk in exchange for property that they're going to now put time, liability, and expertise into to form against rights in a process to form a result. We'll call that impact because that's a lot. So they're going to deposit impact into their property, form a result across from that impact, and farm the results. If there's any monetary potential, sometimes there's no potential in how the results are monetized, and that's okay. That's intellectual property, everybody. That's how it goes. So if you're looking to farm monetized results, make sure that your publishing titles that you're purchasing in brands, products, services, experiences, distributed assets, etc., can form monetized results. In Let Me Out Productions, the brand. The reason to buy a piece of the brand is to learn how to structure your own impact puzzle for co-publishing. That's the reason to buy a piece of the brand. Once you structure your own impact puzzle for co-publishing, that's a result that you'll get. We don't expect any financial result from your publication, and you can go again and again and again. You can use the structuring process as many times as you need off of one piece of the brand. So I don't want to put financial projections out there. Basically, that could be a monetized result, but that's entirely up to you. You structure your property, you take it to market, you sell the available co-publishing, and it sells out. Again, $200,000, $300,000, $400,000, like minimum in most cases, the way these are structured. So we're de-risking a huge portion of what intellectual property even is by converting a portion of this into a community garden for anybody to co-publish. Like the press pass, the pieces are $25 for syndicate. Notable fan ecosystem professional, and about $55-$60 for a syndicate player or a team coach. So anyway, the press pass lore game is a collaborative storytelling experience set in the fictional sport punk universe of Press Pass All Access. Season 1 co-publishes and co-produces the lore of the Basketball Syndicate of America. Created by Kamani O'Kara and published by Let Me Out Productions, the lore game is the facility for property developers, where each person has their own unique parcel, known as lore producers, to contribute to the official canon of the Press Pass Season 1 Impact Puzzle. By collecting puzzle pieces, or aka publishing titles, and using them to create characters they own, by co-publishing chapters of team lore through tabletop roleplay, and by co-producing content around the United Canon, lore producers shape the history of the BSFA while positioning their resulting developments for market success within terms. The Press Pass lore game is a scalable impact puzzle built on the Elmo structure for tokenomics. It combines elements of roleplay, intellectual property ownership, and blockchain technology to create a unique, community-driven experience. Lore producers collaborate to develop the lore of the BSFA, a professional basketball league in an alternate reality where fantasy, sports, media, and culture intersect in unexpected ways. How to participate? To become a lore producer, that's the official in-world name of somebody who owns a publishing title and is publishing a character. I get, the in-world canon of that position is we are all researching the lore for this mockumentary. So in the canon, it's not a mockumentary, it's a documentary about the canon, right? So we're researching the lore of this documentary. So when you have a publishing title, you, the individual, are in the modern day, and you're researching this character that existed back whenever you're doing your role play. For now, it's the 30s, but we're going to advance the lore. And we're going to get to the 60s and 70s and 80s and 90s. We're going to be there before you know it. We're going to be in 90s BSFA before you know it. If this goes viral by the end of summer, we could be in 90s BSFA, I'd say by next March. Not that that's the goal, is to get to the 90s BSFA, but I think, by the time the lore gets to the 90s, we will be widely consumed. All of us. Everybody participating, not the main node. The main node will be doing just fine. We'll do just fine. I think people will congregate around the main show. But all of the story silos and all of the freedom of expression that you all have within the sketches that you're producing and uploading to YouTube, outside, like you can produce for the archive and keep everything within archive specs. And then if your sketch overall is longer than what the archive specs are, you say, well, I want to release a 10-minute sketch on YouTube. By all means, please do that. The only thing that we're asking not to be competed with is in the tier 1 and tier 2 of our world. So no shows, no films, the highly cinematic properties that would seek television distribution or theatrical distribution. Those are siloed to Let Me Out Productions and our partners and what we're trying to express. So if we can all just respect that the Batman films and shows are coming from the people who created Batman, but everything else, even the comics, can come from y'all, and you guys can monetize them separately within the terms of the use law. See, it's the beauty of it. I don't need to go collect from every single person participating. I don't need to collect below a certain threshold either. I'm not here to do a fiduciary obligation on the property. I'm here to make an effective storytelling experience and get people, frankly, off the streets. Floating above that myself, to be honest with you, the way this has gone. Okay. Coffee's hitting. So, how to participate? Become a lore producer. Number 1, you have to have a publishing title. And to own a publishing title, you need to have a self-custody Ethereum wallet on blockchain. So, we're going to go to right here. Rainbow should pay me. So we can have an official relationship onboarding people at Rainbow. But they have an extension for the browser and a wallet for the phone. And I like Rainbow a lot because they look exactly like Cash App. Not that it would be a big deal if it were an LGBTQIA 2N+ expression. As far as I know, these guys are just out of Poland or something like that, and they like Rainbow. It's not like political branding, but if it were, we wouldn't have a problem with it, and neither should you. But anyway, there's also MetaMask. It's the same thing. This one's a little bit more advanced as far as software interface go. I'm not going to log on stream. Take it to download, homie. I'll show them the download link. There we go. So you can install MetaMask for your browser. They also have, as you can see, the mobile app. I believe there's a web app too. Okay. Cool. I know that was considered separate from the actual browser extension. Anyway, let's get back into it. I recommend MetaMask or Rainbow, but there's other ones, so you can check out. Our co-founder uses Base, Coinbase wallet. I think it's a Base wallet or something like that. But you are entirely responsible for your security of your account. I don't even have a way of accessing your account or backing up anything that you do on it's a public notary safe. So when you get your wallet and you sign up for a new account and it says create new address, it will assign you a 12-word, sometimes 24, but in most cases 12 words. You need to physically write them down on a piece of paper and then stick that paper in a real safe, safety deposit box, make a couple of copies of it, keep the copies in safe places. If you ever lose your device and you lose your auto login or something like that, that's how you get back into your crypto wallet, your self-custody Ethereum. I'll log in mine real quick. I'll just do it off browser over here on the side. Yeah, so this money that you see, I log in, you guys immediately see 17 grand. No, that's not real money. So this is a scam coin that somebody dropped to me, AICC, and it's reading at 1700, but I have no way of getting that out. It'll basically trigger, I'm not going to get into it. I'm broke. I wish I could turn that into US dollars cash, but there's no way I can actually do that. I didn't know I also had a dollar on Polygon here. Cool. Anyway, so if you ever lose your That's not you guys all can see. But if you ever lose your wallet, or you lose your, let's say, somebody stole my computer or something, they would need, one, to be able to get into my Windows, and then two, they would need to be able to get into my my MetaMask password. Not going to happen. So let's scale it appropriately to read. Okay. So you've got your self-custody Ethereum wallet. You have your Rainbow, your MetaMask. You installed it to your phone, you installed it to your browser, you have your address. The address begins with a 0x. When you go into your addresses on MetaMask, at least, it'll have like Ethereum addresses. Make sure you're copying copy that address and put that somewhere safe too. I mean, you should know your own address. It's a long string code, you'll never be able to remember it, but what a lot of people do is they memorize the first 5 to 6 digits and the last 5 to 6 digits, and they kind of keep that in their mind. It's like that's how it looks. So when you collect your publishing titles, you visit the marketplace in the browser associated with your wallet. So here, I like MetaMask on here, and I would connect, and I go and I want version 1 or version 2. Black is version 1, red is version 2. So let's go to version 2. I want to play Roller Coach. That's what I want to buy. And it's $46. So I'll hit my buy button since I'm logged into the company account. Let me buy. Then I'll purchase for 46, probably 47, 48, 49 with fees. If you're just going to hit up my PayPal or my Cash App or my Venmo, absolutely do that. Just mark it at $3 at least, okay? Because I have to navigate fees and exit on my end. It costs money to move from whichever of those transfer apps into blockchain, and then it costs a couple of cents to buy the titles and transfer them around. So just do a $3 markup on whatever you're buying. If you don't want to actually go through the browser on your wallet and buy cryptocurrency or put your debit card through your wallet, you can just sign up for the wallet, send the sticker plus $3 to my Cash App, my PayPal, and my Venmo. I will buy the publishing title. I will send it to your wallet, and I will make sure everything has the proper receipts. The receipts are available for everybody. I literally can't scam somebody this way. So when you buy something via Venmo, PayPal, Cash App, you will get your publishing title.
Suffers of furious paranoid break, realizing his elaborate schemes have failed to control narrative. Boiling with rage, Felix storms into the street wearing his homemade sour cream lawsuit. He penned false secrecy, violently exposing his own identity, just to scream at the authentic mascot face to face. The 1939 Boston Potatoes leave behind a legacy of weaponized root vegetables and citywide supernatural chaos, a bizarre historical footprint that outlasts their
Well, crap, dead air. I'm back. So, yeah, they, that was alright. It didn't get to the whole story, but now we'll actually do the whole story. Actually, first, let's talk about the game rules. It's already open. Okay. I was the lore wrangler for this first story beat. So, the lore chapter is 1939 Boston Potatoes. That's like the wide, we'll call it the wide table. So you have, the chapter 1939 Boston Potatoes, one silo of lore. If you're sticking with the Game of Thrones metaphor, we'll consider this House of Potatoes, House Boston, and their sigil is potatoes. Okay, so the lore of House Boston begins in 1939 with 300 characters, 15 players, 5 starters, 5 off-pine, which are the backups, and then 5 emergency players. The reason they're called that is because it's fiction and that's funny. 15 players per basketball roster. Mixed gender, all gender. We're not policing that. It's ages 11 and up appropriate in terms of what we're role playing in the content field. And when I say 11 and up appropriate, it's SpongeBob edges. SpongeBob edges. So, I think to every TV film writer that makes perfect sense. You can get away with a lot, and we have gotten away with a lot. So if you're walking through the world and you're like, well, I don't think this is appropriate for my 11-year-old, that's your call as a parent. That's absolutely your call as a parent, and you're doing good parenting. Good for you. Okay? If the Atlanta Caucasians, and the reason why that team exists, are too out of realm for you, and you don't want to touch it, that's your call. You don't want your kids to touch it, that's your call. It is available on a public website, and people can go read it. In fact, let's go read it. This is SpongeBob humor. immediately funny because the colorway, the historical colorway of the Atlanta Caucasians. Gotta bear with me. Sing on a bear. Okay. The Atlanta Caucasians, as they are currently known, first joined the basketball syndicate in the second syndicate expansion of 1948. Up until 1973, they were known as the Georgia Georgians. 1939 Lord chapters were actively recruiting for a table in 1939 Boston. This is the story number 12. A character in a plague doctor mask goes around town and around the events surrounding the season, rescuing people and solving crimes. So I'm currently putting together the story map for that around the Boston Potato schedule, and you can come roleplay in the beat. Come roleplay that story. You can sort of ride the game schedule and try to see how it impacted games, and if that's how you want to play it, you could try to drive the story way out sideways from where it initially started. I feel like that sort of is what happened with story beat number 3, which was the surreal, something surreal is up with the mascot license update. Well, the surreality started off with an imposter mascot at Media Day, which was identified by a missing dollop of Creamazy, which was the Crumb Corp Foods Incorporated branded sour cream. From there, the head coach became way too invested in the mystery surrounding the imposter mascot, but for a good reason. And so she issues a spot-off challenge between the two suspects, which are Coop Kellogg, her assistant coach, who's always trolling her, and Felix Hotstetter, the ballsmith, which is like blacksmith but in equipment management sports, and they maintain the balls. So a ballsmith. And they were both of them were absent from the floor of Sebastian Kane Hall during the imposter mascot's routine. So they're both emerged from the back room sweating, and they're suspected of being the imposter mascot. So the table took over the story. I put something surreal up with the mascot. We started at Media Day in Boston. Immediately, imposter. Immediately, sour cream is missing from the costume. And a Bisafay official, Patton, Florida, gets involved and is like, okay, this is ridiculous. Like, why are we focusing on this at all? It's the first ever Media Day Fan Fest in Bisafay history. Why can't we, let's focus on the brand of the Bisafay, the brand of the potatoes, like being professional basketball and all. And the coach is like, no, we're going to focus on the imposter mascot. Myself, my two assistant coaches, 2 of my players, 2 fans, and you, the ballsmith and the librarian from the Bisafay. So Narling then challenges Kellogg and Hotstetter, Ballsmith, to a spud-off, which was this competition designed by Hotstetter to kind of prove who was capable of pulling off those athletic moves that the imposter mascot was demonstrating earlier. Kellogg goes up first, very confused. He doesn't know why he's being accused of any of this. He's like, I went back, to the bathroom. And I come back out, and you guys want me to do what now? I have to juggle loaded potatoes and then slice them into a casserole while they're falling, while dancing and doing a sugar-fueled curly fry dance. What the hell? So he's very confused, but he does it, and he does it terribly, and he falls into a bowl of gravy. So he's covered in gravy and innocence. I don't ever want to hear an AI say that again. Ages 11 and up appropriate. Anyway, he was covered in gravy and innocence. Jesus. As a result of the split off. Then Felix goes up, pulls off everything perfectly, and his sugar-fueled curly fried dance match the flips of the imposter from earlier. So he comes away as the number 1 suspect. We fast forward a week to the first ever game of the Boston Potatoes. They're playing the Yonkers Finest in Yonkers. I'll let the Yonkers players decide where their arena was. I'm really trying not to be a tyrant about world details to a certain degree. I'm trying to set the layout experience so that when people come in and help set things. Because ideally speaking, a lot of it's Cosmo local, and people from Yonkers will get involved and come back and be like, okay, well, what feasibly could have been in the basketball arena in 1939? That was a building here. Maybe it's torn down now, but because that's what we did for the Manhattan Pantaloons. They played at Harlem Renaissance Ballroom and Casino, which did host real basketball from the Harlem Rennies, is what they were called, but they were semi-pro. And since they were semi-pro, they can still exist in this world. It's only the professional sports that don't exist. So that includes the Globetrotters, by the way. If they want to be a brand in the world, they would have to be a semi-pro brand and not a pro sports brand, if they can exist, alongside the World of Press Pass. And be a part of it. That would be pretty fun to have people graduate from the Globetrotters into the Bisafay, including some of the legends of the Globetrotters. Since I'll keep it off there, but I feel like they got a raw deal. Right, Snoop? They got a raw deal back in 2021. Same with Snoop. I know what happened. And you know what? Shouts out to the Snoop's manager who one email took care of it. That's real. I love that. Also, shout out to Running Time, because their plan was originally a sports mockumentary, and they're not stepping on our toes. I still think we should have shared lore, and y'all are now doing 3 seasons into an all-male roster team called the Waves. So there's a way that fits. That's totally workable. Absolutely. I don't think it necessarily makes sense with what I understand of your narrative. I haven't watched the show because I didn't watch Abbott Elementary. No shit, I love Quint, I love everybody, I love what they're doing. I just can't, you know what I mean? I don't want to take influence from anything right now outside of what I'm specifically hyper-focused on producing as an audience experience. And I don't want leakage in here. I think everybody in our craft can understand. So I'm mainlining Boondocks, just to give everybody a flavor. Documentary now, for sure. Boondocks, The Office, Parks and Rec. What was Bo Burnham's documentary? I forgot what it's called. Something about Zach something that's going to be famous? Zach Taylor's guy? I forget what it's called. It's not as bad as people think. Trailer Park Boys is another one. The one on Peacock that's about the rocker girls, the Muslim rocker girls. That one's phenomenal. It's one of the best shows I've ever seen, actually. Why can't I remember the name? That show's phenomenal. Anyway, watch that show. There's one thing about me, I just don't remember the names of the shows. I don't remember the names of characters. I will call the character by their actor's name every time. I do. I even do that in the cartoons. Like, yeah. So, we're co-publishing What Happened, Like I said, if you want to think about it, in fact, for fantasy kind of people that are coming from the D&D world, we do want you. Like, it is pro sports, but the way that we're doing the story, we're not focused on, like, my players scored this. That's not what's happening. All the game logs are fixed anyway. So when you start off the 1939 season, we already have the game logs. We're not trying to discover what happened in every game. We already know the Boston Potatoes went 31-29. And we know that they lost to the Pittsburgh Gridlock in Game 8 of the freshman round in 1939. We don't know what happened, but we do know what happened. So we have the pregnant monkeys. That's why we're talking about pregnant monkeys. So anyway, you heard Abba say it.
With his new wife, but basically, like,
I want to know why the things that I just fucking do to the window. I want to know why that monkey is pregnant. And I want to know why you want to trapeze, but you have one leg. I want to know all these things.
And I want to know what happened and why. And that's how the Lord name works too. So we just called it pregnant monkey. I took that. I preach. I love your program. Y'all should. Honestly, it's not be a big deal. So that's your trademark. If you want the trademark, it's whatever. It's like, don't hit me up with anything about it, because I'm helping you out. Make it a trademark. Kind of highlighting that it should be a trademark because of how we're using it in the story and how in the storytelling context. But I think it's how everybody's going to use it. You're going to see it used over at Dimension 20 in Critical Role. Senseis. I still don't get D&D rules. I need that training in person. Anyway, so I'll directly link the context. Abba is the one wearing clothes. Preach is the one with the nose. It's easy to tell them apart. They're the burden earning of our time and I love them to death. Look at their musical there. Look, I put. Look at the eyes. This is for them. I already have it for them. So all they need to do is make an Ethereum wallet, hit me up, and then they can do this, sing a song, and a bunch of little merch land for the catalog. Super limited. I'm sure their fans will bless us. And then, but they see folks like these guys, they make money to the point where they don't need a little entry in the Musical Bears catalog. It's like 50, 60 grand. So, well, maybe not. Let me not say that, because Abba's smart about money. So he might be like, yeah, no, that's totally whatever. Yeah, we'll do a song and design and help you out with merch stuff. And then and then let me out. Anyway, I'm not here to talk about Musical Bears. I'll do another stream on that later. So Abba says, hilarious comedians, both Abba and Preach. Every time if they come to your town, like, go buy a ticket, go help them, go see them at a show, because they're hilarious. They're hilarious people, and they're ethical. They're nuanced. They teach critical thinking. I love it. And they teach critical thinking in their behavior. A lot of streamers don't do this. You see a lot of streamers take the product of streaming, product of chat, and they're constantly throwing tantrums and selling the idea of self-righteousness. We're self-righteous. We're morally and socially superior to everybody else. So copy our behavior, throw these tantrums against these concepts with us, and what it does is it hurts you, the viewer, because it turns you away from being curious about the nuance, being curious about the facts. Abba and Preach don't do that. They are always, like, we're going to make me emotional because we're getting farther away from this every day. Like, every day it's more attractive to go be the sanctimonious tantrum thrower. You see this with AI. There's no nuance. There's no critical thought. It's just, AI. Blah, blah, blah. No. Editing, templating, format, concept. Totally okay. It's how we've used these tools, these efficiency tools, these digital efficiency tools for 25 years. They've just gotten really good. So if you're going to cheat and have creative output that you are not bringing into reality, that you are not publishing, that's cheating. Or let me not say it. If you just say, hey, I rendered this using this tool, here's what I did, here's the expression, that's not cheating, that's just something we've been doing forever. But if you're saying, oh, I painted this, but you actually rendered it, that's cheating. Also something that people have been doing forever. So I don't think anything has really changed. Really. Editing, templating, format, concept. Is that like a fun ETFC? That's not, you can't shorthand that. Editing, template, format, concept, ETFC. So ETFC, AI, like what we do on PressPass, every creative element is from my brain. I've been building that world for 10 years. I've used ETFC AI to bring the structure into perceivability, because I can't, like, normally that would take a team. But I even tried to do it on spec with a couple of teams, and they'll look back and tell you. The ones that like me. The ones that still like me. They'll look back and tell you. Right? And this was so abstract for the longest time because there wasn't perceivable demonstrability. But now, ETFC AI has allowed me to bring this into perceivable demonstrability. Not like NAMFO, you think AI came up with National Association of Modern Football to describe the American football, which is also a mixed gender, all gender league, by the way. So I'm looking forward to, the 400-pound woman quarterback killing it. Benjamina Slothlessberger. Love it. It's the world we are. I did not even bring that up to make fun. I'm literally picturing a tank you can't bring down in the backfield. Just hit, and it just throws the ball anyway. Somebody ought to try it. Just see if your center can throw. Ain't nobody bringing that boy down. These are the ideas I have. Anyway, let's get back to the pregnant monkey. Oh man, horrible focus. So Preach, describing a family drama on TikTok, says, "I'm gonna say this. It's not my clown, not my circus. I'm gonna leave it alone. Used here, this is a metaphorical phrase suggesting indifference to the matter discussed." I'm a big Lemony Snicket fan, so I definitely lean into writing in a Daniel Handler homage kind of way. I try to be funny, but that's straight up like that's straight up sticketry is what I call it. So not my clown, not my circus. I'm gonna leave it alone. Use here this metaphorical phrase suggesting indifference to the matter discussed. Abba, like I said, he's the one wearing clothes. Abba says, "I paid for a ticket to the circus. I want to know all the drama. I want to know why the kind lady with the knives is kissing the dude with the flamethrower. Ages 11 and up, appropriate. I want to know why that monkey is pregnant. I want to know why you're on the trapeze but you only have one leg. I want to know all these things. I want to know what happened and why. What a perfect pitch for the press pass experience, Abba." So our task, should you choose to truly join us, is to plant the pregnant monkeys throughout the story for our characters to explain. The showrunner has planted major pregnant monkeys like team names and progressions of history, many characters, and several example chapters that are part of our active development. Within this sandbox development, the showrunner has the ability to guide continuity in a way that's compatible with this approach. For example, during our Something Surreal is Up with Mascot Tale, one of our lore producers wanted to change the pregnant monkey detail, the official name of the mascot. It actually kind of come into the story beat thinking that there wasn't a plan for the mascot, I think, and so that's sort of kind of what we're talking about. If you guys give me the space to be a light George R.R. Martin of this world, or a light Arthur Miller of the Gotham here, not a tyrant, I'm not going to come in and change things I don't like, but I will. If it's not age 11 and up appropriate, if it's severely outside of that range, that is something our team will talk about, and even the collective can talk about it too. You can challenge that, but I don't want to. You don't use that for pearl clutching. I've set the edges. The edges are set. Atlanta Caucasians, Los Angeles Wet Fountains. There's a bunch of team names throughout all the leagues that are various organizations, etc., etc. So, yeah. Any official detail in the world is called cement, so that you can't change the cement. So, Bison Spud Pig has been the name of the Boston Potatoes mascot since 2016 or 2017, whenever I originally wrote the first details of concept for Boston Potatoes. Because I wrote a song about the Boston Potatoes mascot called Starch Up and Tate On, and I wrote that back then too. Yes, you're about to hear the song. Starch up and Tate on, Tater's gonna Tate. Starch up, hum bison, spud pig, you spudston curmudgeons, in the Bisafay potatoes fight. Tate on! That was really before I knew who the Tate brothers were. But even so, age 11 and up appropriate context, we don't even think about the Tate brothers. We just won't have them exist in the world, okay? So our task, should you choose to truly join us, is to plant the pregnant monkeys throughout the story for our characters to explain. The showrunners planted major pregnant monkeys like team names, progressions of history, team moves, all that stuff. And again, they're pregnant monkeys. That's fixed details. So if I say a team is moving, and they move from, let's say, like Columbus to Cleveland, when does that happen? 73? 69? I forget the exact year, but that happens. That specific, it's either it usually happens in the off season, in the space between chapters. So that means that the media day and fan fest of the very next season will open up in Cleveland before it's fixed. So you can throw protests, you can throw tantrums, you can make it a really emotional exit of the brand, especially if it takes on a big local interest. But there is no keeping the team in town and violating the larger canon. You will let it go to the next market. Every single league in our Press Pass All Access universe has expansions planned. For example, when the lore game in the BSFA reaches 2026, which is 14 years after they get to the show, 2026 will expand. I think there's 4 more teams, and then the BSFA will get really international. And y'all will be able to vote on those teams. So if you lose a brand, and it becomes an emotional thing, like a really built-up local property, the lore will always be there. And it will literally be canonical lore that y'all can maximize in the sketches, comics, books, downline media that's not cinematic tier 1, tier 2 television and films for as long as you want, which does include festival cuts. If you make an indie film and out of the lore and it's 90 minutes and it's so good it can make a festival run, there's a process. We're gonna check in with the show because that is cinematic content and it is perceivable to be tier 1, tier 2 depending on distribution. But if it's good enough and you put your heart into it and you put and it's a great representation of product. Sports mockumentary, narrative, whatever it is, That's fine, but that's like in the indie realm. You know what I mean? Like micro expressions of lore, really good character stories, that kind of thing. Yeah. So any official detail is the cement. Everything role played becomes cement as soon as it's wrangled and updated on the wiki. Period. So what happened with Bison Spud Pig and Tatanka Tater Bacon is cement. So even though all of the other story beats flash back to the Media Day Fan Fest of 1939, everything that happened with Bison Spud Pig and Tatanka Tater Bacon and those events that are mentioned in the deeds in the story node and the dates of those events, those happened. Other things can build on top of them. So if you're a lore wrangler of another beat and you see something funny intersection, you're like, okay, well, the first game that the Potatoes played had a halftime show where the two mascots got in a joust. Well, our characters were over here in this section witnessing that, and then this happened that intersected between our story and their story. So the canon is respected, the cement happened, it's still canonical down to the date, but now you've built an intersection. We don't need to know about the intersection, we're over here. We did this. That happened, that's the cement. And y'all witnessed that and bounced off of it and did this. That's cool. That's how it becomes sea urchin storytelling. So when you are a lore wrangler in the specific story bead, when you're story mapping the bead, you can plan all sorts of pregnant monkeys specific to that journey. So you can, everybody will have access to the game schedule who's a lore wrangler, lore master. I'll eventually put the game schedule, like the actual game logs up on somewhere. I don't think it'll be wiki. I think that's way too much metadata for the wiki. We're already going to have to silo it at a certain point off fandom or work with fandom to build a specific co-publishing silo, which is fine with me. I want to respect rules of industry, rails of industry, but we are going to be co-publishing in limiting the fiduciary obligation to what is specifically published in the interest of fiduciary obligation, which is not everybody's labor. Period. And I know, okay, let me just get this off my chest. I look a certain way, I got 18 years of hair, 17, 18 years, they're going to be 18 this year. Okay? I look a certain way, I am a normal human being. I hate being discussed. I understand it's fishes and loaves. I get it. I hate being discussed as any sort of like. This came up a couple years ago when we had our only sizable installment in the press pass so far, which drives me nuts because this is clearly great product. It's just challenging financial systems, and I was hoping to sneak it in, and I failed at that because I don't have good friends. Let me take that back. I trusted the wrong people with the definition window and messed it up for everybody. So, yeah. Okay, so, yeah, a lore wrangler is going through the adventure, and they're plotting the adventure. You're plotting time points, you're plotting certain turns and twists in the story. But just like what they do with Dimension 20 and Critical Role, you have to ride with what the players bring you. So if they take you away from something you planned as a wrangler, you gotta ride with that. And there's a verb that I stole from an Instagram commenter. They called Brandon Lee Mulligan Bleem, and they said they didn't want to call him BLM because of Black Lives Matter. So they put BLEEM.
You know what?
Hey.
I'm gonna say this.
Hey, I don't know what to do.
I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna say this.
Yeah, if you just say it like a word, it's Bleem.
Not my clown, not my circus. I'm gonna leave it alone.
That's what you're doing. You're bleeming.
Stop banging people's.
I paid for a ticket to the circus. I want to know all the drama.
That's now a verb.
I want to know why the bitch with the knives is fucking the dude who does the flamethrower. I want to know why that monkey.
Character role play. And if you're the guide of that adventure, you are bleeming. The result of the adventure, the finished story node, the published story, is called a mercer. Huh? Never say I don't. Never say anything about me having not honoring. Yeah, I don't even think about any of that. You know, so we good. St. Paul Youpers for D20. I think Critical Role might be better off in the Nashville Whiskers, or perhaps the Columbus Dutch, because I think it would be good to spread tables across the world and in the universe. So But, you know, y'all could collaborate on really strong branding in one specific node of the story. That's the other side of it. When it comes to merchandising and stuff, we're going to discuss that. But there's a very strict system for how merchandise is produced in terms of team jerseys, team-related branding. Y'all can do whatever you want as far as character branding, okay? We're all going to learn about saturation. I know a lot about saturation. The people that I'm teaching who are paying me, they know a lot about saturation, and any one of them could give me 50 grand today, and we'd be super grateful, and it'd be super necessary. But yeah, they know a lot about saturation. But yeah, so when you're developing your characters and you want to go put a shirt out with your character or some fan art of your character and work with the fan and put them in on the shirt line, please do that. What are we talking about? Please do that. Okay? What's a good example? Zach Oyama, right? I put him as... Who did I give you? You're either the head coach or the son of the head coach in the St. Paul Upers, the Minnesota Menace of 1939, that's what they're called back then. So Zach had his character drawn up by a fan, and they collaborated on a t-shirt line that was released by D20. And half the net profit of the line went to D20, and the other half of the net profit was split between Zach, the role player, and the fan art saturation, right? So if you were, that's where you say we do 1,000 limited, 2,000 limited. You don't saturate, you don't take away. Now I can get something really cool that's part of the team history, but it's not team branding necessarily. Sometimes I'll let you put the era-based logo on like a sleeve or like a small area, but you know the main point is the main stuff has to be expressed by the show. The jerseys, the equipment, all of that stuff, because we're going to be working with real sponsors. Like the Reebok or Nike or Adidas making these jerseys. We have the best designer in the world, the best jersey designer in the world. I'm not kidding. He's out of France. He's out of deep country France. And so at this point, after all these years, you're just a friend of mine. Okay, so much love to you. Port cement. So no asses allowed, but we encourage two approaches: perspective and adaptation. So one of our lore producers wanted to change the name of the mascot in 1939. That's just it's not no big deal. It's not like it's a great explanation. It's not like we're accusing them of a crime. They just didn't know I already had a mascot name. That's all it was. And so I didn't have it wasn't on the wiki. My bad. A lot of stuff isn't on the wiki yet. That takes time, and I have been cut in half twice. Here, you got over here, and you got over here. If you look real closely, this is a cross. This is also a cross, and then this one over here. It's hard to see, but if I do one more, there'll be a third cross, and I'll have the sacred mount carved into my abdomen while looking the part. while doing fishes and loaves out of intellectual property. Oh, spare me. Oh my goodness. I do not at all, don't pray to me. I'm a normal human being. I don't like being discussed in weird ways, man. It was originally funny when I figured out it was happening, because I was like, oh my goodness, my dumbass, I'm a sinner, I'm a clown, I'm nothing. Absolutely nothing. Even this here, I was super proud of it day one. I knew what it was day one. I was really proud of it. It's the culmination of my life's work. But now we're in a little over 5 years, and it's just like, y'all, this has nothing to do with, this is generational. This is, like I was talking about earlier, the spiritual ones will call it God. I guess the people with single theological perspective will call it God, or Allah, why am I forgetting the Hebrew name for God? Anyway, what the hell's wrong with me? Why is it something the tongue? But my perspective is more Afro-Indigenous, and I'm Afro-Indigenous, period. I will not deny my black ancestors, I will not deny my indigenous ancestors, so the term that I play myself is Afro-Indigenous. And in that spirituality, God as one being is also the continuance of our ancestors' souls, which is measurable and visible because it's light. So the first expression of God was, let there be light, let there be myself. And if light is the root energy, it is also the constant energy, and all energy is constant. So when we embody a vessel to live, be it a human, a rat, a gnat, a plant, when we embody a vessel to express that energy, that's a special finite window of time. But when we leave that vessel, the energy doesn't disappear. I deal with this with my brother all the time because he visits me too much. I'm kidding you. I'm kidding, Giovanni. Don't stop. Don't you dare. Don't you dare. You're welcome here anytime. What I'm saying is, the ancestor, the light soup that he gets to enjoy being a part of where he's at, that's better than hanging out with me, dealing with my struggles and teaching this information. So, yes, rest in power, Giovanni. He passed away in April of 2021. He passed away 10 days after I launched Musical Bears and launched the co-publishing of the brand. That's why I didn't sing on the bear for 2 years after. He's the musician. He's phenomenal. Also a results publisher. Published results. Hand over fist published results. And I'm starting to really appreciate that. Anybody who publishes results, you're on my team. I don't care what your results are doing. You publish them? 95% of these people don't publish results. That's a big reason why everybody's turning away AI, because a lot of those people that don't publish results are using AI to pretend that they do publish results. And it's like, no, I want the consumers of every. I'm a consumer too. It's not down the nose. What I'm saying is, I want all of us who are consuming information to approach that information with nuance, critical thinking. I've been a results publisher for 2004 is what I think. It's 22 years. Professional high-level results publisher, 2004, 22 years, hand over fist. And I'm using this efficiency tool for templating, format, concept. I've been using digital tools for those things forever. This is just the best way I can reduce my workflow by about 100x. But I'm not cheating. I'm a results publisher. I'm just able to publish more results within my same exact workflow because the workforce is shortened. There are people out there who have never been results publishers, and they're now using these tools to pretend they're results publishers. I'll tell you what will happen to them. They'll figure it out quickly, and none of y'all want to see that, because that's true. And they'll stop trying to publish results that way because they're not results publishers. They're going to fade. So while you're keeping the energy up, anti-AI, all that stuff, I get it. Be nuanced. Use critical thinking. We don't want to see instant data centers pop up with no regulation, no oversight, huge environmental damage, all of that. I'm right there with you, 1,000%. That doesn't mean that you throw out somebody who's more, I'm a morbid disability. What's going on with my GI tract? So that means that I don't have access to the same time that you have every day. I don't have access to the same resources. I'm a medical care so defrauded by Kaiser. You kidding me? So many people in America go through the same thing too. Because all they need to do is lie on paperwork. They get you trapped. Now your medical care is a criminal trial. It's the lie they put down to save money. That's what happened to me. So it's easier for me to ask y'all for $25 to go publish the stories with me. Hop on a table, 7 sessions. You got to think of it as 7 episodes of television that you're involved in for $25. And then you get to, we're not going to do these AI cinematics like they're fun. Don't get me wrong, but any of y'all can do it. This is Google Notebook LLM. I just went in there, video overview, you type in the prompt. You can use the story from the prompt and do AI cinematic. That's for private enjoyment, won't be part of the archive. Just demonstrating and showing what group storytelling can do and the wild storytelling it can bring forward. That story that we printed here, let's go back to it. We're going to talk about printed monkeys. Let's talk about the map. So you have a 7x7 printed monkey storytelling approach. You have the 7 elements of a well-told story, and if you're a lore wrangler or a lore master that's helping a lore wrangler master a beat, this is where you include your sort of pregnant monkey loose details and feelings. That's kind of how you're mapping your sessions. Okay, so session 1 is the hook. That's the fulcrum of the story. Is the lore part is the hook. Almost always takes place at Media Day and FanFest. Occasionally, the lore wrangler might start in a few games into the season, maybe a month or two into the season, maybe even all-star game. It depends on what the lore wrangler really wants to do. But for the most part, you want to give yourself a good amount of storytelling space. So you start off at Media Day and FanFest, which is fun because you have 300 characters all there at FanFest and Media Day. It's completely feasible in a giant arena to have the 300 chapter characters all starting off at the same story point. So here, the antagonist energy, you can see here, that's a pregnant monkey that I planted as the wrangler ahead of time for Rod. So I said, okay, folks, I already kind of brought in the idea that in preseason promotions, in my script for this, Bison Spud Pig was acting lethargic like a potato buffalo pig, what somebody might expect. And then on Media Day, he comes out and starts a bunch of flips. I didn't say anything about Cryptic Riddles when it was one of our role players, but that's okay. I adopted it as the Wrangler. I was like, okay, thank you for the contribution, let's put it in there. Who cares? Tyrant. So now instead of just doing flips like I had scripted as the Wrangler, flips and he's yelling things to the crowd. It's still different from what he was doing in preseason. Great. So the antagonist energy in the hook is fraud. That's the pregnant monkey. I hope I'm describing that in a loose and vague way. It's a fixed detail fraud, and I shape the fraud with preseason acting one way, Media Day behavior another. But past that, it's super vague, it's super abstract to start off. Now you have your fulcrum with the plot resolution in the hook. Folks are confused about mascot behavior, so again, this is all plotted ahead of time. The primary setting is the Potatoes Home Arena. It's a fictional building called Sebastian Kane Hall. Sebastian Kane is the first black property owner, I think, in American history. Like he had the earliest deed as a black man assigned to him, and it was near Boston or in Massachusetts somewhere, and I think it was in the 1600s, if I remember correctly. Sebastian Kane. So that the hall is named after the first black property owner in the United States, which the deed law in the United States precedes the existence of the United States, so keep that in mind. 2 mascots. The fulcrum of conflict. This was actually decided by the table, and I updated it after the table described this to me. Because the conflict was just what was the difference between preseason Bison Spud Pig and Media Day Bison Spud Pig. That was the original written conflict. But since we've roleplayed that, I have a thorough description. 2 mascots, one official, the other an imposter, are performing at Media Day and FanFest. Characters decipher the imposter by identifying a crazy discrepancy in the costume. So the narrative voice / lens of observation is just the overall character roster, which means that there is no lens that the character, there's no central character that is perceiving the story. But that's up to the lore wrangler. My guy was Aaron Pooh Kellogg. I totally could have written the prose as though it was entirely perceived through Aaron Pooh Kellogg's eyes, with all of the conflict angles being acknowledged by him through the other, him acknowledging the other character's observations. But I just wrote from a general, overall, documentary, descriptive kind of thing. If you're writing from a first person or even second person, which is sort of a witness of the events, but perspective, you're going to write as though it was a document that the documentary team discovered, like a diary or a journal or an article in a newspaper, something like that. That's fun too. That goes back to sort of the content styling. I don't have a writing style guide. There's a lady named Journey in Sacramento who's a phenomenal author, and I have her do the style guide when I can pay her, which comes from y'all, 9 characters. Directly pays the team. Okay. All right. So narrative voice lens of observation is the character roster. Theme of focus is the surreal mystery. So that's the theme, surreal mystery. Protagonist energy is sleuthing, a little bit of detective, and then calendar date. Calendar date can be a specific date. It can also just be the month if you don't want to spend. Sometimes it doesn't need to be a specific date. You can this happened in March of 1939. They'll leave up to the team to decide what date it specifically happened. That way you guys don't have to think about it and work with the game log. That's our job. If at a certain point that does get to be minutia. If it's not fun for you to do that, then it's minutia. And we have a team for that. So it's our job to sync up the results with the calendar. We're not going to change any results. but oftentimes the game logs are quite a bit because we have different rules than actual basketball. And so I use a generator. Shout out to Basketball GM, Jeremy over there with his phenomenal infrastructure. I use his generator. It's not AI, it's just a tool he's been running for years for basketball simulation. And if you were to add our custom press pass rules in the simulation, I could just run the simulator with the press pass rules, or allow me to change the way some of the rules work with more customization. But unfortunately, that ain't the case. So we have to customize our game logs. And 60 games a season for each team takes a bit of time. Well, every time you do a game log, you do it for 2 teams. So at a certain point, you're just done. And AI will help with that. That is again minutia, editing, templating, that goes into templating, format, it goes into formatting and concept. It's not concept, it's just taking the game log, adjust for these rules, spit out a new game log, there you go. The second session was the turn, so the energy was competition. This was changed, I didn't have the antagonist energy figured out for the turn. You don't need to either. You can try to map these things, but you do want to be malleable for the table. So the contest between imposter mascot and authentic mascot, folks are confused as to which is which. We're still in media day, fan fest same day. The witnesses forced the 2 primary suspects in the super spot off competition, we talked about that a few times. Character roster runs motivation, the focus is reveal skill display, and your protagonist energy is triumph, where Felix won and Aaron, who Kellogg experienced triumph because he was innocent of being the imposter mascot. So in the pinch, the story gets tight, the stakes get higher. The team plays their first game, and it features a wild halftime show, which leads to a brutal fourth quarter collapse. So Coach Gnarling abandons her duties at halftime because Bison Spud Pig was secretly her husband. We don't know this at the time of the story, but Bison Spud Pig, the person in the suit, is Rustin Gnarling, her husband, and he's jousting with Humphrey Yogurt, the young Titans mascot. Behind his mascot using normal jousting equipment, and Bison Spud Pig is trying to lean forward and Kentucky candy he stole from a fan. So Spud Pig gets hurt, Gnarling abandons the end of the quarter, leaves Coach Kellogg in charge, and he sinks the play. So that fourth quarter, the potatoes blow the game, and they lose. In the press conference, Felix Hofstadter hijacks the press conference by yelling from the equipment, visitor's equipment room about Tatanka Taylor Bacon. That's where we learn the name of the imposter, and he's freaked out over the missing Cremacy. So Felix isn't, this whole time, the Volker was not trying to hide the fact that they were trying really hard to be an imposter mascot. I did try to find him a little bit as the Lord Wrangler, like, I'm taking you away, and I was playing some cat and mouse with their little goal there, but it was fun. That's like, it was part of the fun. They got to their goal, but they didn't just like walk in there, I'm the imposter, so we had to wrangle it and create that happening. So that was a lot for the first game. Everybody who's in the Boston Potatoes now, that happened in the first game on January 30th, 1939. Boston visits Yonkers Highness. They blow a 7-point lead of the game, and it's because of the halftime show where Bison Spud gets hurt. Coach, he ends up fine, but Coach Gnarling leaves the game to tend to him, and Coach Kellogg takes the plays of the game, and Felix wasn't tough afterward. So you can already picture the sports documentary format. We're 3 sessions in, and we already have material that could. That's half of a TV episode, really. We're not even doing flashbacks in this format. On our normal show, we're doing flashbacks and references. Okay, the punch. One of the running through lines here, since it's a mascot storyline, as a Wrangler, I could have an involved mascot in the story. So halftime shows were a great thing, and since 1939, one of the running gags is like kind of nobody even knows what a halftime show is. The professional American football's only been going on 12 years. Baseball things been happening for 40 years, but don't have halftime. So it's kind of a new concept. Like professional halftime show should be entertaining. So know that teams really know what to do. We didn't know this going in. It sort of figured itself out on the way through. And so the punch, the Boston goes out to San Francisco, and the Buoys, that's the team out there, which are run by the San Francisco Mafia at the time. Pinocchio, Sciortino, and Anthony Lima. They released 100 cats into the arena, and the mascots are 100 cats. Naturally, this delays the second half by a significant amount, 37 minutes. And this gives time for the coaches Gnarling and Kellogg to get their heads together and finally work together on a goal. And they draw some beautiful plays that never existed in the BC day before. And they beat the Buoys by 20 points in a blowout, which is a big deal because the Buoys are one of the best teams in the BC day. So you have, again, all of the maps here. Antagonist energy is fueling chaos. Fulcrum of plot is got time, play the last coaching staff to strategize the blowing victory. That's fulcrum of plot and resolution. The setting, you have, what is this here? The conflict. Was observation. Theme of focus, which is, what would we say, unconventional tactics for energy, strategic adaptation, and then the date is February 26th, 1939. I don't know if that's going to hold up. I don't know if potatoes actually in San Francisco. I'll make sure that syncs up appropriately. That's our job. It's not your job as the Lord Wranglers or the Lord Chapters. Like, and being real, unless you really need the date for a specific piece of content you're making, you can generally just do the month and the year and be fine. Like March 1939, you doesn't need to have the date for a specific authentic look. Although if we have the date available, like we know that media was on January 23rd, 1939 for Boston. That's not going to change. So if you're doing a bit from that specific day, you can totally put in your Chiron that day, or even footage pulled from. But that would be more appropriate to use the month and the year instead of the specific day. Footage pulled from month 1939. Okay, so we had a really small. This is 1, 2, 3, 4. War Party 5 was really small when we had 3 people show up, so I decided to run a small table setting because the game is built for 12 to 16 players. But I said, okay, what happens if we run a small table and we RNG some of the things that other players would do? And you can totally do that. If you do that, you need to have the set. Well, all the sessions should be recorded anyway and uploaded. We encourage streamers to live stream their sessions and make a content stream out of it, farm out the sessions, click on their sessions, whatever. You have to use that sets a ceiling on like when you make this amount of money and earn revenue, earn net profit. Really, you're going to pay out a really small kick to Press Pass Season 1 because there's going to be a lot of you doing this. If you want to make past that ceiling, if you kick that small Press Pass button, really helps us. Just really helps us. But on top of that, we're doing you're ripping on some of the other kickbacks from Season 1, so it's a give and take. It's beautiful. It's about it. Okay. So at this small party, we had Patton, we had myself, and we had when I'm Mayor, Kellogg, and beautiful Hudson, Smith. Just sort of like what was this? Yeah, mid-April, a couple weeks before the All-Star game, we're discussing who we think might take our team for the potatoes. And Felix finally reveals that he's the imposter to the librarian and to Coach Kellogg. And then while doing his reveal, he says, Coach Kellogg is, I'm going to invite Bison Spud Pig to the All-Star game, so you can't confront him. We're going to protect him. This is ridiculous. And Hofstadter steals the angle and invites Bison Spud Pig himself. So now we go into the fall. The authentic mascot and imposter finally cross paths on the street outside of the All-Star game in Harlem, but the fight is real chaos. So the mascots are in head-to-head. We also get revealed that Bison Spud Pig is Alice Gnarling's husband in the scene. And they start off with an argument head-to-head with 2 ridiculous costumes facing off. One is still mentioned the cremacy, that's Tatanka Taylor Bacon. And then a milk truck crashes in the background where more cats flood the streets to drink the milk. And we get to release a real where Bison Spud Pig picks up a cat, cats go to a transparent, Kellogg sings milk in the streets, a song. And it's Tatanka Taylor Bacon sees Harry Strong, we lost him with weapons still here from the media day. trying to eat the cream because very strong foodie. It says it's why when he came out to meet, he stole the cream from the Kentucky after he was looking. So now he's outside the All-Star game trying to eat this missing dough of sour cream. He made it like felt like he can't eat it. But Tom Terry tackles this poor guy in the milky streets and gets his cream back. While this is all happening, Coach Gnarling at some point spits herself and she falls down in the milk. And the cat comes up to her and like becomes her avatar, and that cat's name is Harold the Fairy Princess. And during this Taco Bacon assault on Harry Strong, the Crazy itself falls in the milky streets, and a cat climbs into the Crazy, and that cat is called the Shark Claw in the Boston Potatoes lore. And so these two alley cats like end up embedding themselves to appear in the finale of the story. Now we're about a month and a half after the All-Star game, where again Taco Bacon covered in dogs with sour cream, there's a milk truck crashed in the streets, and this all happened before the All-Star game, so it didn't affect the game at all. We don't even know what happened in the All-Star game. We just had a little scene outside the All-Star game before it happened. This is what happened outside. So presumably Alice Gnarling, Coach Kellogg, Vice Principal, even Taco Bacon, they all went to the game. Like, didn't cause any issues at the actual All-Star game. They did this huge mess out the streets, and that exists for everybody. So there's 12 chapters, and now all 12 chapters know that was May 16th, 1939 in Harlem. A milk truck crashed on one of the streets outside of the Harlem Renaissance Ballroom and Casino. So that's there for everybody to build off of, to off of. Okay, let's get into resolution. Antagonist energy is gaslighting, form of plot, and the season ends with Real Losing Streak ending too. But no, the season didn't end. I need to fix this. We're just in the middle of a Real Losing Streak at the end of June. The season doesn't end until like August or September. It leads to a disastrous and violent post-game press conference. So we're actually on the road. We're back in Harlem, I believe, because we're in back in the Renaissance Ballroom. Because we're might change this. It doesn't matter. I'm back to Sebastian King Hall. So staff members engage in ultimate blame while their past mascots engage. Alter egos engage in all physical brawl. What happens here is Coach Gnarling's being rolled by the press on the 4-game losing streak, and it's a big deal. There's only 60 games in the season, so 4 games is a lot. And she blame shifts to Aaron Kellogg, and she's like, "This guy won't stop singing during the games. I don't know what to do." The players are confused. The assistant coach keeps singing the plays instead of like just coaching, and we're losing because of that. And to defend himself, Coach Kellogg belts up and sings a song, Star Trek Potato, on the same one I sang earlier. That's when Harold the Fairy Princess, the cat that Coach Gnarling adopted from the Milky Street scene, tries to attack Aaron Kellogg, apparently trained her cat to attack me in this month and a half when I sang. And Taco Bacon is in the room in his costume. For some reason, we're just like letting this imposter go. Right now that we know it's the equipment managers, because like, you know, if you think about it, it wouldn't financially necessarily make sense to fire the equipment manager just because he's an imposter mascot. It's just like, okay, let's just incorporate it in the product. But he has this Cream back. There's a cat in the Cream called Shark Claw. When Harold the Fairy Princess, which is Coach Gnarling's cat, goes to scratch up Aaron Kellogg's face, the Shark Claw reaches the Cream and tackles Harold the Fairy Princess. So those two cats are in a brawl. I wrote in the lore that they have history that preceded the Boston Potatoes, so that's fun. We'll see what that does. That's a fun little monkey there. Yeah, it's like cat beef that precedes this even the story, like generational beef cat. And Felix, in his Taco Bacon outfit, sees these two cats going at it and shrugs, and he's just like, "This is all chaos that comes from me." So he leaps across the table and takes out Bison Spud Bacon tackle. He is then, he's not fired, but his Tater Bacon outfit is banned for the final 2 months of the season because Florida Road petitioned the piece of you guys can't allow an imposter mascot to do this. So that's how the story wraps up, is the imposter banned for the rest of the season, following the librarian's petition. But the entire thing's about that interesting television episode that's not too different from like Soul Opposites. So you guys get the story. The prose is pretty good. The game logs here, you can see every single conflict. Turn conflict 8 or 7, the state of potatoes. Logistics of the split off require rigorous debate. The specific physical statement of the potatoes struggle became a highly contested issue, proving once abroad in the city of Boston, proving once abroad in the city of Boston, one never takes tossed starch lightly. So we restore angles, it's just an example of how the conflict system works. My character suggested boiling potatoes for the juggling contest, contest, and the Rutgers Spuds technique. Coach Gnarling suggested raw potatoes, and then she also called it the Rutgers Spuds technique. And then Pat Florida, the librarian, suggested loaded potatoes. 3 angles. My angle is vouched for by 2 characters. We're rolling pickle out of the skill facet, so I think I had like level 6 pickle, and they both had level 1, so we added 1 plus 1 to 6, and then we roll pickle 8. Got a 1. I rolled 1 out of 8, so it's like crit flop in the game. Doesn't mean you lose the angle. It does mean you have a poor chance of winning, and it is funny to read. So that's what a crit flop is. Coach Gnarling, if you are responsible for the angle, you're always rolling a 5 cap, even if you're level 1, 2, 3, 4. You're always rolling a 5 cap. After you level past 5, you roll that level cap all the way up to 77, 99, 121. Those are the 3 cap tiers of any facet. So yeah, later in the game, when people are heavy hitters, they're coming in with like level 60, level 70, this and that, the other thing, they're going to be rolling big fat numbers. And the game is equipped to handle that too. So votes. Okay, so first thing that happens is the angles are suggested. So you reach a 4 in the story mode, you have different characters trying to the table. My character observed this happen. My character remembered this happening. My character seems to recall this. So 3 different angles. Boiled potatoes, raw potatoes, loaded potatoes. So we're juggling in the contest. 3 different angles. The first thing that happens is the angles are suggested. So those 3 characters are not voting on what the angles are rolling. They're involved in the conflict. The next thing that happens is any other character at the table can vouch for one of those angles. So when they vouch for the angle, they're adding their current level in the fulcrum facet of the roll to whatever level cap the angle has. If the angle is 1 through 5, if they're rolling 5, then they add to level 5. But they add their levels. If they're level 1, they add 1. If they're level 2, they add 2. There's no 1 through 5 cheating there where I'm level 1, so I add 5. No. Level 1 is, if you're vouching for level 1, you add 1 point. That's it. There's no multipliers, nothing like that. As time goes on, if you guys as an audience figure out really fun multipliers and really fun expansions on the combat, I'm all ears. But for now, we just have basic math. And it is fun. Look, listen, my culture, bread and butter. Families are going to be hooting and hollering playing this game. This is going to be a family going to have barbecues, 16 people at a table, camera on, everybody with their spreadsheets and physical paper with the pencil out, sitting at the table, recording everything like it's a family event. And that's what we want to see. You guys are writing a story this way, building sports lore this way, and you can just keep doing it. Just keep doing it for years. Make this a staple activity. Okay, so Coach Wingate and Hofstadter voted for vouch for Coach Kellogg, so they're not voting. Okay, angle, number 1, character angle, submitted to the lore angler. Number 2, vouching, character vouching, who vouches for who. Number 3, voting. So anybody who's involved in the angle or vouching must vote on what they think the conflict is based on. So here, we didn't have enough people, I think, to actually do the vote. That can't be right. Oh, I need to edit that. That's incorrect. So, because we didn't have So